So attendance is one of the most important parts of safeguarding students within our school. It's important that children are in every day because it minimizes the risk that something might be happening to them or that they could be exposed to adverse childhood experiences. So we need children in school every single day. So our ideal expectation for children is 100%, but we monitor and track that all children are meeting an expectation of 96% or above. We keep our expectations high. Know that every single day that a child is in school means they're learning, they're getting the pastoral care and support that's available from us, and also it enriches their social experience while they're with us.
Studies by the DFE have shown that students who attend school regularly tend to do better at their GCSE or their outcome compared to those with poor attendance rates. On the other hand, regular absence from school has been linked to external harms such as crime and serious violence. In fact, persistent absence from school was found to be a common factor among young offenders and those who possessed knives. At our schools, we recognize that student attendance to school is a key factor in determining the success of the school. When I asked our team about their strategies for achieving such high level of attendance, they emphasized the importance of consistently and promptly addressing attendance issues.
So when children are in school, we know that they're safe and they're looked after, but also it increases their life chances. When children are regularly achieving good attendance outcomes, it means they're also able to access learning and achieve well in line with their peers in different schools or higher. And given the needs of Forest Gate and the community around us, they need high expectations more than any other children.
There's definitely a direct correlation between the fantastic attendance stats that we have at Forest Gate and the outcome. So clearly Forest Gate is benefiting. To me, attendance is the single point of failure. If you don't attend, you're not learning. Mm-hmm. The fact that we've managed to achieve above 95% year on year at Forest Gate in terms of attendance, and we see the school had been at the top 50 for progress rate for the last 5-6 years, is a testament to this fact. So well done.
We were out on the gate and I went down to the post office to stop students going to the post office to get snacks and drinks, and a boy came past me, tried to go into the shop, and they said, sorry, you're not allowed, you need to get into school. And I said, and you better run because you've got 2 minutes. And by the time I'd sent a WhatsApp to the leadership group, Joy Knowles had sent a message saying he's just made it in on time. I sent Olympian in the making.
Very good. That's good. But on the serious note here, think about what you just did there. You created a level of restlessness that ought to be with students who are coming in late. It's not a joke, it's quite serious. That's great. And I know you do a lot of that, the way you greet students.
I think another one that we've in terms of holding students accountable, making sure they're prepared and organised, is checking their phones for the amount of alarms they've got set, and also checking their social media.
What have you encountered with what's the average alarm they set usually in their phone?
It's generally 1, and it's generally too late.
Right.
So then trying to set 5 alarms on their phone in 5-minute intervals. And then I think the issue is then when we confiscate a phone and we've got the phone going off in 5-minute intervals in the main office, and we don't know the passcode to turn it off.
I asked that because I think we should. It's a good thing to pick up, by the way, because the misconception is if you have 10 alarms or 5 alarms, because what are they really telling themselves? Snooze button? Oh, it's not important. This alarm is not important. They should set just 1 alarm and get up. Because they're building a habit. But it's a serious point, because when you read around building habits, like personal habits, right? One thing people say is, what habit do you want to build? There's a cue, or there's in this case, alarm, and you get up then. That's the habit you want to build, not a habit of, okay, I've got another 5 minutes. Yeah, that's a bad habit to build. But anyway.
The interesting one is when they say, well, the bus got me late. The bus was late.
Yeah.
And then you ask them, why did you expect the bus to be on time? We're living in London. And interestingly, a lot of them live within walking distance.
Yeah.
So we say, how long does it take you to walk? We're not sure. I said, let's get the map out. So we start searching it. It takes you 20 minutes to walk. How long did it take you to come on the bus? It took me 50 minutes. So start walking to school. Then you're not relying on the bus, you're not relying on traffic. So those kind of things, like practically making them realise, actually, I can walk it.
Maybe we should set up a step count competition.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your attendance figures? What's your biggest achievement?
but we're hitting on average a weekly attendance of 95 and 96%.
And that, what was last year, for example, or previously?
91.2 I think we ended on.
Okay.
And I think the other biggest achievement is reducing persistent absence, so PAs we would call them, from 20% to 13% in 3 months.
Nice, well done. I think during COVID, our attendance rate for Skate was above 88% virtually, where students had to log in for full duration of the lesson period, following the normal timetable. So I know the team has done a phenomenal amount of work, and that's a huge success. And the national, if you want to compare, it's not comparison really, it was very low. I think between the middle class family, I think about 30-something%, and working class family, children belonging to working class family, around 20-something%. Well done.
Our pastoral team moved mountains to make sure that children could still access education through COVID. We made sure they had the technological support, the regular contact with school leaders and pastoral leaders, and it was important that even though the world was going through chaos, children had the normality of a consistent lesson.
But also, you've been hitting close to 100%, isn't it, for consecutive weeks?
So we've had, particularly year 11, historically that's been a big issue for us, because we've had attendance figures of about 93-94% for year 11s last year. This year, on average, we had about 98%, 99% every day.
Yeah. Good.
So there's the day-to-day monitoring of attendance, which starts before children even come into school. So our pastoral leaders will look at any child that's missed a day of learning, and we'll contact them in the morning, touch base with them, find out how they're doing, and try to see how we can support them with getting into school. So we take a proactive approach to make sure that children come in every day, and that if they need further support, we can provide it for them. When children come into school, the first thing our pastoral leaders will do is go check up on lessons. They'll go around and find out who's not present, so that we can be as quick as possible at making our attendance calls and finding out where our children are. Our registers are taken very early in the morning, and we take registers every single period to make sure that we know where our children are at all times. And by doing this, we can contact parents quickly, find out where children are, and handle any safeguarding issues that come about as a result of that.
But what the difference, I think, was the everyday doing, pursuing the calls, doing the day-to-day grind.
Yes, when she comes into school, if she can speak to someone at reception, I'll come down and speak to the first aid to see if she can get a toilet pass for today. But I prefer her to be in school as instead of just missing a whole day of school.
And because we had an absent attendance team, we couldn't make that system come into play properly until we had a regular attendance team and regular kind of team that's motivated to make those calls. So I guess the lesson from that is you need a good system, but you also need people to genuinely work hard and graft. You can't get away from it.
I've also noticed everyone's coming together. Everyone's making this a key focus. Okay, the consistency of how people do things in their respective roles.
So I think why it's all married together really, really well. Everyone has taken a unique part of attendance. For example, I said within my team, I said, right, all the pep talks regarding attendance and punctuality will be done by myself. I'm a part of our morning mantra, line up time just before exam skills, and reminding the students we're here to pass exams. We can't come to that exam late.
I've listened to one of your motivational prep talks during lineup, and literally the hairs on my body stood. I was motivated.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the fact that I felt that, can you imagine the kids, and they're all like standing still, looking at you, listening. But these things matter, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then at the same time, as Mr. Rahman mentioned, Siggy and Noor making those daily phone calls every single day, even the children that are sick. Our colleagues are still calling those students as a welfare check to show empathy to the parents. Yes, we understand your child is unwell, however, we'd love them into school. Give them some small amount of medicine, let them have another hour's rest or something, but come in for the afternoon. We then created such a culture with the attendance department as well, that we were all fitting the missing links. It created a whole engine of everyone doing something about attendance. And hence, our results of attendance have just shown up. The children actually understood the importance of school. When we keep on talking to parents, not just saying your child has missed 50% of 50% attendance, we actually change that as a figure of learning. Your child has missed a half a year's of education, for example. Do you now know the effect this will have on their next year?
Good.
And then obviously we'll talk about fines and things like that, but at the same time it's actually winning that parent over and having a healthy dialogue with them. Saying, look, we're not here against you. If your child is further unwell, we have a medical team here. We'll communicate that with you. Your child is safe with us.
When it comes to chasing attendance, small details or chasing details matter. So, what details do you chase, and Just talk to me about the impact that chasing details have on improving attendance in your school.
So we have regular checklists, and we call it pastoral plays, that help us to inform our pastoral practice when it comes to attendance. So for example, small details are the when, so knowing exactly which dates the children are off and the reasons why. And the when and the why are really important, because if you know why children aren't attending school, you can work with them to overcome those obstacles to attendance. If there's a conflict with a friend and that's keeping them off school, or if there's a issue in a lesson that we can resolve and help them come into school regularly, it's important that we tackle those whys so that we ensure that children get the best out of their education. But also, if there's other reasons why, such as medical reasons or mental health reasons, we can put in place the appropriate reasonable adjustments so that children can maintain good attendance and that their needs are being met in an appropriate manner. So the what and the why and the when are really important, because if we can get to the bottom of those reasons and really interrogate absence doesn't become a barrier, it becomes a way that we can work together with parents to get the best outcomes for their children.
We're telling every year group school starts at 8 o'clock, although technically it might start at 8:30. Yeah. But it's just change the habits and the the day-to-day kind of.
I agree, but you see, you sort of brushed over again a small bit of detail which is so significant. The fact that you have bothered to be at the gate at 8 o'clock and positively welcoming them. Yeah. It actually shows to the students we care. Because the alternative is, well, the opposite is, if you weren't there, kids strolling in, the impression they're getting, well, it's up to me if I want to.
And it's kind of linked to attendance as well as other things. Yeah. We actually consider the fact that one of the biggest challenges we have is kids are very polite when you're polite to them. And our goal is to make them independently polite. That is correct. Yeah. But the reality is, it needs to be modelled. Yeah. And part of it is you want the kids to want to come to school. And the quality of the interaction, that's the first interaction, defines the day for most people.
I agree.
So we kind of shifted our mindset in that. We used to have student managers greeting them and the LG kind of in and around the line-up areas. So we shifted that. We said, let's all go there. Yeah. So every member of LG, unless they're doing an intervention or they're doing a hotspot inside, we're at the gate. We're modelling to each other how we should interact with them really positively. Good morning and all those things. We're picking up uniform, lateness, and we're challenging there and then. But ultimately, it sets the day in the way it should continue. So uniform issues are tackled, attendance issues are tackled, those kind of things. But it makes a really and we have a little bit of a laughing giggle because if the staff are happy and they give off a nice vibe, then the kids are like, oh, it's a lovely place to be. And I think that the biggest shift in mindset has to be the kids need to want to come to school, and it should be a place they love coming.
And you're welcoming them. Yeah. From the head teacher, to the most senior, leaders, and all those who are important to them. They are welcoming them first thing in the morning with a smile. And you have a very detailed tracker, don't you, that monitor the attendance. Just talk to me a little bit about the tracker that you use.
So every single day we track and monitor the absences that children have to school. So there's authorized absences, so if a child is genuinely unwell or there's a circumstance we're aware of, and there's unauthorized absences. So every day a child is off for an unauthorized reason, we track that, and we inform parents as this happens of their child's attendance and the impact on their education.
Really be looking at this daily.
Literally daily. Student managers have this up, or should have it up every morning. Yeah. And what I try and get them to do is split screen it. So they have Sims to make the call. Yeah. And they have the tracker on the other screen. Yeah. So they can do everything at the same time.
So after 2 days of unauthorized absence, we will notify the parents that they've triggered a specific stage, and this is the impact it's having on their child's attendance. We'll work with the parent to help them overcome any obstacles to attendance at school, and we will inform them of their statutory responsibility to make sure their child attends.
So we kind of shifted our strategies to being a bit more bespoke. So we said, let's have, for example, Ziggy, I gave him a list of kids and said, call these kids. And these are the kids who, if we get in, their progress will go from 0.3 to 1. And that's going to have a huge impact. So those preemptive calls and all those kind of things are for those groups of students. Correct. And understanding the connection between attendance and outcomes, but also carefully being strategic in the way you would do with the curriculum.
During week 1 and week 2, I sent a list of all the students that were on 0%, so students that hadn't returned. So rather than letting it carry on and getting worse and worse, we were able to action it super quick, and the list from week 1 to 2 literally halved because we got them back in, we knew where they were accounted for. So our PA figure should have significantly reduced because we got them in quicker than we did last year.
You mentioned fines though, and we mustn't shy away from talking about that. Sure. Because in the follow-through, the escalation process, unfortunately, the recommendation is we must engage with parents, but what if things are not improving?
When a parent hits an attendance stage, it's also important that a more formal meeting takes place if there's a pattern of absence and we can do something with the parent to support them. But it's also important that parents know it's their legal responsibility that a child attends school. So while the school can put in place support for that parent, the parent ultimately has to make sure that the child regularly attends, as if they don't maintain their statutory responsibility, we then have to escalate it to the borough. We also use NUM attendance management to support parents. So we use parental attendance surgeries for not just poor attendance, but poor punctuality, so that we can overcome absences or overcome barriers to absence and ensure that children have the right support around them, but that parents have appropriate professional support around them. And if there's bigger issues, we'll also involve social services support and outside agencies in a way that helps. But it's daily, it's ongoing, it's regular, and it maintains a strong partnership between the school and home to get the best for them.
So the referrals that we make with regards to the fines in the past, a lot of them used to be thrown back at us. Just talk about why and what you've done to sort of tighten the whole thing.
Yeah, so penalty notices can be issued for a few reasons, and the criteria is very strict for the reasons that they can be issued. And we've always been really successful in unauthorised holiday, so G codes. We've always had a 100% success rate. The issue came when we were looking at between 80 and 90%, but there's set criteria between that 80 and 90%, and some were being rejected, and we couldn't work out why. So we had to go back to the policy and the documentation that sets the criteria, the rules and the law around penalty notices for attendance. And we were then able to put those structures and systems in place and be able to check that the students had hit every piece of criteria before the penalty notice is submitted to the borough, meaning that we're getting almost 100% success rate. And when we don't, the borough come back, and we've been working really closely with Janet Roll in the borough to kind of submit further evidence that then gets them over the line. And I think that that's really important, because first of all means we are hitting all the correct students. It's not time lost by my attendance team. They don't have an inordinate amount of time to sit and write out documentation and print off evidence. So we're really pleased with the progress they've made, and we're looking at doing some more training for other staff members and probably across trust with the borough to make sure that we can continue issuing penalty notices and being 100% successful every time. It
also ensures that we are doing what we need to do in school before we issue penalty notices. It's making sure that it is the last step that we take, and we're doing everything that we can do before that. The last step.
And that's exactly right, because you have to have a paper trail, an evidence trail, to say you've engaged with the parents, you've met with the parents, you've issued letters, and so they're only successful if you've done the legwork, which we are.
Good.
Other things that we've done, and regarding punctuality, we reminded the students that our canteen opens at 7:30 every morning. You have a free hot breakfast. Get into school, come inside, and then you can have a hot breakfast.
And actually, the breakfast itself is quite nice.
Yes.
I know after the gym. I sometimes have it. I'm genuinely, it's really nice. So 3 high leverage things that you did this year that really helped.
I would say the 0% attendance report straight away, because it got numbers down. I would say running the PA report, because it makes us aware of who they are. And more regular updates on complex cases and school refusers, rather than waiting once a half term. It's a weekly agenda. Like me and Stacey discuss it in our line management. What's the update on this student? Where's this student at? And it's just keeping it fresh in our mind, so we know, we know what we're doing with that. And if you attended some training, right?
No matter how much we plan or strategize, our efforts will fall short if students are not present to learn. Whilst most schools have solid policies and procedures for dealing with poor attendance, they frequently fall short when it comes to escalation and follow-through.